This is the Homecoming with the Downing Brothers podcast, where we talk about real estate, business, and financial literacy. They live by the motto, dream, plan, execute. Your host, Anthony and Anton Downing.
Welcome to Homecoming with the Downing Brothers. This is Anthony.
This is Anton.
And we've got a new guest today that's actually going to bring us a new angle on real estate. What's going on today?
We have Alan Maynie.
Alan, tell us, man, like, I remember the first time we came down to Houston and we asked you, like, man, what do you do? And then you took us around, almost like it felt like we went around the whole city because you were taking us to view all these different properties and projects.
I know, he was like 300 units over here. About 2 miles down the street, we have another 70 units. I was like, man, you're managing a lot of property.
Yeah, so what is it that you actually do? What is your title?
So I am the Director of Asset Management for an organization called Avenue Community Development Corporation. We're exactly what the title says. We are a community development organization. We focus on buying properties, building brand new multifamily properties, building single-family homes, keeping them affordable for the people who live in the community. We don't want to displace. Our motto is at Avenue is, hey, if we don't do it, somebody else will come in. They'll buy the property. The neighborhood will gentrify, and the folks who live there now will no longer be able to afford those homes.
Right. Right. And so, we got a consistent theme here on the Downing Brothers, on Homecoming with the Downing Brothers, where we're bringing people on who are trying to make neighborhoods better without just getting rid of everybody. And so that's why it's important to get this platform, because a lot of people don't know that organizations like Avenue exist. Like, well, so how long have you been with them, and exactly what do you do for them?
So I've been with Avenue now. It'll be 3 years in March. And I'm the Director of Asset Management there. So I'm responsible for managing the assets. Our assets just happen to be real estate, multifamily real estate. So I'm charged with the risk management of the real estate. That means making sure that the insurance is in place, making sure that it's appropriate and there's enough to make in case something happens, because this is Houston. Things happen.
You mean like the hurricanes?
Like a hurricane.
Right.
Like high winds. Luckily we don't have the fires like some cities have, but
Right.
The hurricanes are enough. So make sure that that's taken care of. I'm also responsible for hiring the property management firms that we use, supervising those property management firms, doing the capital planning, planning out 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. We're going to need a roof in 15 years. We're going to need a new boiler in 15 years, things of that nature. I'm also responsible for hiring our CPAs, the folks that review our financials at the end of the year. A lot of our deals we have partners in. Some of the deals have tax credit partners in. Some of them just have equity investors. They expect, and we want to give them quality financials so that everything's above board. And I deal with TDHCA, which is the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. They're like IDA in Illinois. They're the agency that oversees tax credits, and they're our compliance agency.
Okay.
Now, you said tax credit partners. How does someone become a tax credit partner?
So typically there's a couple of different ways to do it. The most frequent way someone does is they invest money with a syndicator. A syndicator could be a bank such as U.S. Bank, or PNC is a big syndicator. Shouting out these names, I'm sorry, guys. There are other private syndication companies such as Hudson and Boston Capital, places like this, where they collect money from wealthy individuals through a fund, and then they invest that money as equity into tax credit deals. What the investor gets is they get a dollar for dollar tax credit on the amount that they gave. So if they put in $1 million, they get $1 million tax credit. They can be taken over 10 years.
Right.
So they don't get it. They can't take that $1 million all in year one. They can take it over 10 years. But let's say in year one, they really only needed like an $800,000 tax credit. Well, they got $200,000 left over. I'm not a CPA, and they can roll it over to the next year.
Right. So is that bringing down their tax liability?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because look, I mean, you got people listening. I'm listening. I'm learning, and you've already told this to us about 2-3 times already. But there's people listening right now. They're trying to understand what does a tax credit do and how do they use a tax credit? Because the question is, for some people, if I'm already in real estate and I'm a contractor and I'm trying to move from being a general contractor to being a developer, or I'm a real estate investor, but I've dealt with residential properties, but I want to move into commercial real estate. That means you're transitioning to being a developer. And so developers know about tax credits, and they know about bringing about syndications or even crowdfunding, which is
Right.
now.
And I was going to get to that. You know, we've had Christopher Senegal here, who was also in Houston like you, and he brought up syndication. He said for the average Joe, syndication is beyond them because
they can't afford it.
The stringent rules of how much money you need to have. But with crowdfunding, which is also syndication, you know, for the little guy, we're able to develop properties and, you know, commercial properties and residential properties in a way we've never had before.
Right. So what's your take on that? Like, what do you foresee as far as, you know, developers? Can people take the leap to being a developer and doing some of the projects that we see Avenue do?
I think so. Avenue is about 26 years old, but you know, like the old saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You don't just leap into a 200-unit development. You start at a 20-unit development or a 10-unit development. And then you do that and you become really good at it. You grow your systems so you become efficient. Then you move to a 50-unit development. Then you move to a 100-unit development. Then you move to a 200-unit development. We're still growing. You know, at Avenue, our goal is to triple our portfolio in the next 3 to 5 years. So that's our goal. That's what we're mandated to doing. Our development team is literally looking for deals every day. We literally have a guy, and all he does is drive around and look for deals. That's all he does.
And what does it mean to look for a deal?
So he's going around looking at dilapidated multifamilies. He's online searching for land, and he's going around looking for land. So
vacant land?
Vacant land, or land that maybe is underutilized. One of the things we do at Avenue, we don't build in flood zones. So we have a specific set of rules that he has to follow. And then what'll happen is we'll say, all right, his name's Anton. Say, all right, Anton.
You ain't like my brother?
Okay.
Yeah, like your brother. And so we say, all right, Anton, you need to get 300 units before the end of the year. He's like, okay, well, where? Anywhere in Houston. Go find them as long as they're not in the flood zone. And Anton goes and he finds them. He then brings them up to the development team and they run with it. And then once they develop, do what they're going to do, then they say, Alan, this is your baby for the next 15, 20 years.
And that's once the property has been purchased and started, and the renovation has started.
Yeah, typically we purchase and renovate, or we build from the ground up.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. About a month and a half ago, we purchased a small property, 18 units in the near north side.
He said small. 18 units is a small property, you know. Anyway,
It's small,
All right, go ahead.
small for us in the near north side. It's an affordable property. It was built in the 40s. Needs a lot of work, a lot of dilapidated maintenance. We partnered with the city of Houston.
It was owned by the city?
No, it was not owned by the city. It was owned by by a private investor. They were retiring. We had an opportunity to apply for a city grant. Okay. So we applied for the city grant to rehab this property. We just moved out today. The last 4 tenants that were there, because we're going to do a gut rehab on the properties. Take us 3 months, gut rehab it, move the folks back in. The benefit to the folks moving back in, some of them are actually going to have cheaper rent than what they had when they moved out. It's going to be a fully renovated property.
And when you say you moved them out, you moved them. You helped them find
Temporary
another
housing.
temporary housing.
We found them temporary housing. Most of that, 75 to 80% of those folks are in other Avenue properties where we have vacancies at. And then when we just didn't have vacancies, because we do run about 98% occupied, we went out to the market and we found them a place to go. We literally moved them. We pay for the movers. We pay for their security deposit. We pay for the rent while they're there. We pay for the utilities while they're there. We pay for the cable TV while they're there.
So they won't give you any hard time about trying to squat where they're at or trying to just be in the way.
And this is like
That's great.
This is like and that's why we need not for profits, because this is compassionate capitalism in a way, because it's like the compassionate part is you told these people we're trying to improve where you live, and then we're going to give you somewhere else to live at our expense.
Well, they still pay their rent.
They pay their rent.
They pay their rent, but
you're improving their condition at the same rent that they were paying, and help them with moving expenses or whatever. And then you move them back into a better place. Now they have a place that's cleaner and safer and nicer than it was before.
A place they still know.
Exactly. It's their neighborhood. And the cool thing is about this is we couldn't do it without partners like the city of Houston. For us, it wouldn't make financial sense to go out and buy a property for X amount of dollars, rehab it completely, and then move people back in at the same rent, or actually less rent. But the city of Houston says, okay, if we give you this pot of money, we want you to fix everything. We're going to put a 40-year affordability period on it. So that basically means for 40 years, this property is going to be available for affordable tenants.
Right. So it'll be below market rate.
Below market rate.
Because you could probably get, 25 or 50% more rent, but you're keeping it at a level.
Yeah, we got a certain amount of units that are for 30% people. So people who earn 30% of AMI, area median income. We've got a certain amount of units for 50%, certain amount of units for 80%, and then the remainder of over 80%.
Okay.
So it's actually like 8 units that are for market. So the other 10 units are for affordable families.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a really nice place.
That's great.
It must, man. You must have one of those jobs or careers, I really should say, where you can actually sleep at night.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny because personally, I never thought I would like working for a nonprofit. When I got out of college, I started working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Did that for a couple of years. So I got into banking, started in retail banking, went from retail banking to commercial banking, went from commercial banking to wealth management. In wealth management, I really learned how the other side lives.
Other side, as in the 1%, the very wealthy people.
1%. And you can take a lot of those 1% concepts and you can apply it to your life. You know, no matter what your income level is. Like, for example, most people don't know that you can use a truly self-directed IRA to buy real estate. Most people don't know that.
Right.
You know, there are people that literally have hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars sitting in IRAs that are in the marketplace. They're subject to market fluctuations. They're making 8%, 10%, 12%. Some years they lose 20%. You know, whatever the case may be. But you can literally take some of that money and you can buy real estate.
Right.
And there are benefits to that. Again, I'm not a CPA, but there are substantial tax benefits to that.
Right.
If you guys have IRAs, you know that IRAs don't have capital gains taxes.
Right.
So imagine if you own real estate inside of an IRA where you don't have to pay capital gains taxes.
Right.
That's huge, bro.
That there is.
Oh, man.
If I only learned one thing when I worked for the bank in wealth management, that was the one thing that has stuck with me forever.
Right. So I need everybody to go ahead and go to Google as soon as you get done listening to this podcast and learn more about self-directed
IRAs.
Yeah, and I don't mean like Fidelity where you pick your stocks. I mean there are truly companies that have self-directed IRAs where you choose the investments. Literally, you can invest in businesses. So, like you talked about earlier, you had Chris Senegal on the show before. You could actually invest with your self-directed IRA into his crowdfunding.
That's an idea. Hey,
He didn't say something right
Chris,
there.
are you listening to this? They got another way for us to help invest in your projects. Oh,
Hey,
man, come on.
Well, we about to get you on the main line as soon as we finish this podcast.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Dude, I'm like, dude, you just dropped some gems, man. Sometimes I'll take a pause sometimes when I'm listening. Like, man, we gotta have to rewind it. That's the great thing about a podcast. You can go ahead and rewind that and listen to that one more time. You know, but there's so many ways. And that's why it was important for us to bring you on, because we want to introduce new concepts. Somebody was listening just now and was like, I never heard of that before. Or I didn't even know that there were not-for-profits that were doing that. Or that what Avenue is doing as far as redevelopment or development is concerned is something that individuals can do, because you as an individual can either stay on the private side and the for-profit side and start doing these same types of projects, or you can create a not-for-profit yourself wherever you are in this country and then start doing these same types of projects.
You can do both. There are literally multi-billion-dollar organizations that do both. Related.
Okay.
Related is a big multinational real estate developer.
Right.
They do affordable and they do market, and they treat them completely differently. And what I mean by that is that the affordable is on one side, and they have their own leadership, their own team, and their own goals.
Right.
And those goals are not profit driven.
Right.
And they still want to make a fair profit, but they're not pure profit driven. Then they have their regular related, where they are literally in it for the profit.
Right. Two different missions. Yes. All right, so I mean, this is Homecoming with the Downer Brothers, and we made it so deep because I was so intrigued in what you're doing with Avenue. Yeah. But this is Homecoming, so man, please tell the people where you from.
I'm from Chicago, actually, South Side.
South Side.
Yeah.
Born and raised. Went to De La Salle High School.
All right, shout out.
79th Street.
Yeah. He knows we know all about that, you know. Right. And for all y'all that don't know, man, we've known this man since we were like teenagers.
Yeah, since we was in high school. Yeah, so I mean, so we know where you're from, and and I actually just earlier, because we always ask people like, what was that introduction to real estate or financial literacy? Like, talk a little bit more about that. Like, what got you on this journey?
So I grew up kind of in the real estate business. My mom and dad were investors. My first job was actually sweeping down the stairs in one of my dad's multifamilies, cutting the grass, picking up the paper. Hated it. because you're in school, so the only time you can do it on Saturday. On Saturday, all your friends are outside playing. That's what we used to do back in the day. We'd be outside playing. We don't do that anymore.
Right.
But I'm in this building, this dusty hallway, sweeping it down and damp mopping it down and cleaning out the dryer lint and things like that. And my dad gave me his paycheck. I'm like, okay, this changes things.
Right.
And so I graduated from cleaning up around apartments to eventually my dad was like, hey, come help me hang the drywall or help me install these cabinets. So we're going to refinish the floors this week. And so that's how I got interested in it. My dad passed away in 92. My mom just kind of kept going. My mom is like, she's like one of these ladies you see on HGTV. She literally can hang drywall. She literally can refinish floors. She literally can. It's in there painting. She's literally in there, caulking and tucking.
Sound like our mom.
I mean,
like our mom.
That's exactly how our mom got us into real estate, man. Just doing the same thing.
And we were up here watching it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that built into me a love for real estate. And all my brothers were doing it, and some of them love it, some of them don't. But for me, it's like, this is great. You've got an asset here that you take care of, kind of like a baby, because that's kind of what it is. It's like you're a baby.
Right.
Yeah. If you take care of it well, then eventually it's going to pay off.
Right. Awesome, man. Somebody needs to hear that, because we all start the journey at different lengths. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's teachers or whatever. But wherever you start, you can start today. Today could be the day that you start. Today can be the day that you actually start to start dreaming about what you could be doing to start your business or get your real estate going. So, what I'm saying? That's why we had this platform, man. That's why we had to have you on here.
Well, thank you.
Because you dropped some gems, bro. I'm telling you, we have all these guests that come through here, and everybody is unique. But man, dude, I can't wait to listen to this episode so I can go back and say, oh, let me go ahead and Google that again.
And I actually want to get to the definition of the day.
Oh, you mean Anton's definition of the day?
The definition of the day is asset manager. Asset management is meant to cultivate market value so ownership can increase its returns, whether it has to do with real estate or any other asset. An asset manager manages assets on behalf of someone else, making important investment decisions that will help the client's portfolio grow. An asset manager also ensures the client's investments don't depreciate and that exposure to risk is mitigated. Doing this means watching the market, keeping up to date with research and trends, and staying current with political, financial, and economic news.
I think that was a thorough definition today, bro. I think you covered it.
We got to be thorough when we got Alan on here.
Man, we do. We do.
Because he's laid out earlier in the podcast that he has to manage all of these things, current events, but also the things that are happening in the properties and making sure that they grow in value.
Right. And you always have to have your eye on the future, which is why you're thinking about 10 years from now for that roof or 20 years from now for replacing whatever else that you when you analyze the property, this is what you're getting, and these are certain things that are immediately need to be renovated or replaced, and things that you need to plan for the future. So, asset management can apply to anybody. If you own a single family home, you're an asset manager. But if you have a portfolio where you have multiple buildings on the residential side, or now you have a commercial property, you're an asset manager. Did you know that? You are an asset manager. And for those of you who are not asset managers, I hope that you're aspiring to be an asset manager, right? I hope everybody out there is like, I'm going to be an asset manager. That's because that means that you're changing your life.
And as you grow as an asset manager, you're going to have employees under you, or you're going to have partners under you, your property manager, who will have under that the landscaper, the handyman,
right?
And the list goes on and on. Asset managers has huge responsibilities and encompasses a lot.
Yeah, and you're going to have a team. It's kind of just like you guys talk about in your podcast and in your books. You have to surround yourself with a great team. I'm surrounded with a great risk management consultant. I'm surrounded by great CPAs. I'm surrounded by great property management firms. Even though we have an internal property management firm, we recognize that we're not the experts at everything. Let's go out and let's find people that have been doing it for 15, 20, 30 years, and let's make them part of our team. We understand that. And you can apply that to your individual property if you have one or if you have 30. Just make sure you surround yourself with a team. Don't get involved in something you can't control.
Right. Man, I think he just said something because he was like, shoot, that was the ghost speaking up right now. Happy Halloween.
He hit the nail on the head with that one.
All right, so I got one question. We ask this to everyone who comes on homecoming. What does the word homecoming mean to you? When you hear homecoming, what does it mean to you?
Well, you know, I went to HBCU.
Okay.
Went to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, we got another one for Southern? Okay.
So homecoming to me means something great. It means family. It means welcoming. It means joy. It means excitement. It means great music, great food. It just means, you know, it's home. It's a place you feel most comfortable at.
Yeah. And I can dig it. And I
Yeah,
think a lot
that's
of
real.
us during COVID are kind of missing being able to go back to our schools, whether it's our high school, because a lot of people go back to their high school homecomings and meet up with high school friends. But, you know, homecoming can mean other things, too. With the holidays coming, we got Thanksgiving and we got Christmas and New Year's. And I think all of these holidays are opportunities for homecomings, you know, and hopefully the world gets a little safer and a little cleaner, and maybe some of this, you know, COVID-19 goes away eventually as they find, you know, solutions to that. But I'm hoping that everybody gets to come home at some point. All right, so at this point, is there like a charitable organization, you know, either at any of your homes, wherever you consider home, or right here in Houston that you want to plug or tell people to go check out?
Sure. There's a great organization here called Covenant House. Covenant House is a national organization. They started in New York City, I believe, but there's a Covenant House in Houston. Their goal is they help homeless teenagers. So I think it's 16.
Okay.
I think it's 16 to 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
Homeless teenager that has either living on the streets, was in a bad situation at home, whatever the case may be. They help them with moving their life forward. So they help them with their immediate needs, such as helping them find a roof over their head, helping them feed them. If they have some medical issues, they help them with that.
Right.
You can go to their website, or just Google it, I guess. It's Covenant House Houston. They're over in the Montrose area. It's a great organization.
All right, shout out to them, you know, because we definitely want. If there was ever a time that people are in need, it's this year. 2020 is one of those years. And so we need people to support these charitable organizations. And if you have something extra or a surplus, or if you can use your platform to amplify these charitable organizations, please do that. Please share and comment. The holidays are coming. Please help these charitable organizations so that they can be of a service to others.
I agree.
All right. So, I mean, I guess we're going to wrap it up here. Is there any way that you want people to get in touch with you or in touch with your organization?
So if folks are interested in Avenue, they can always go to our website, which is Avenue CDC. So it's Avenue Charles, Big Charles.org. They can always find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on Twitter at Alan Maynie. They can find me on Instagram at Alan Maynie. They can find me at themayniegroup.com. You can find me pretty easily.
All right. Yeah, because I got a feeling people are going to be looking you up to ask you questions because you dropped gems today.
I appreciate the time.
All right, man. We thank you a whole lot. Thanks for tuning in to Homecoming with the Downer Brothers. And please stay tuned for Anthony's After Set. Welcome to Anthony's After Set. This is what I want to leave with you guys. You guys need to keep it fly. If you're watching this right now, you see the shirt. And the reason why we talk about keep it fly is that you got to stay above the haters. You got to stay above the distractions. You need to keep it fly as you fly towards your dreams and your aspirations. Think about what you want and you stay on track. Put blinders on and you figure out what you want to do and how you're going to make it happen. Fly to destinations where there are going to be people who think like you, who are doing the things that you want to do. You have to change your circles, and sometimes you're going to have to fly somewhere else to do that. We've actually met people along the way that have flown to Chicago so that they can be a part of our circle and the things that we're doing. And we have done the same. We've now flown to Houston and to Dallas and to St. Louis. We've gone all over the place seeking out people who are interested in real estate, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. The question is, are you? And if not, we beg you to keep it fly. Thank you for tuning in to Homecoming with the Downer Brothers. Hey, do you think people know the process to buying a real estate property? I don't know, but if they do want to find out, they can check out our book. That's what I'm thinking, because if they don't know what real estate professionals they need to use, or if they don't know the process, or even the language, couldn't they find it in the book? I mean, we have all that and more. Every type of person that you need to be in contact with to do real estate investing is in this book. That's right. So please go to Amazon and purchase our book. You can get it in a physical form or you can get it on Kindle. Check it out now.